welcome back to Comic Book Nation's Quick Save. And thank God it is, because this is our third loadout of the game today. But it couldn't be more appropriate because we are here to talk about Halo Season 2, Episode 3. So everything is numerically lining up here. I'm your host, Kofi Outlaw, and joining me today, once again, is Matthew Aguilar.
What's up, everybody?
All right, if you are just now hopping into this random video for some reason, we are Comic Book Nation, the show that does it all for geek culture and the official podcast at comicbook.com. And Quick Save is our segment where we focus on gaming-related content. Every week we have a Quick Save show that goes into the biggest news of gaming that week. But as a bonus, we also have a breakdown of Halo Season 2. Being Halo was one of the biggest games around. It is now in its second season, and Matt and I are taking apart that season episode by episode. And now we are here for episode 3, Vicegrad, which neither one of us was confident in pronouncing coming into this.
I'm glad you took that grenade.
Yeah. See, we're just with the Halo puns. We're really getting it in. We're cooking now. So Matt and I did the big Halo Season 2 premiere breakdown, which was the first 2 episodes, Sanctuary and Sword. We have those on the Comic Book Nation YouTube page, which you should definitely subscribe to. And they are in our Comic Book Nation audio feed on your podcast platforms. Episode 3, Matt, how you feeling right now? Because I think we came away saying we were really impressed with the improvements of the premiere episode after season 1, which, full disclosure, our show, we agreed that it was really bad by the end, but we thought there was promise in the DNA of the show if somebody could just pull out the good parts. Now, we came back and we said episode 1 really was a good example of how to improve this show. We said episode 2 was slower, definitely slower, but showed that they had more focus on, which characters to focus on, relationships, and how to make this a drama beyond just the action stunt bits. And there was moving of the pieces. Episode 3, how do you feel about this one, Matty?
It's my number 1. I will say it's when we talked about season 1, and we've talked about season 1 a bit in like the first 2 episodes, being like, wow, you can see the improvements and things like that. But episodes like this is where that was really going to be put to the test, because this episode, by nature of how it's broken down, doesn't have a giant action sequence that like is kind of going to divert all the attention, right? There's some action here and it's great, but they're very small slices amidst the bigger episode, right? And so if it was going to keep your attention, and if it was able to do those small character moments and dialogue and all that and keep you hooked, this episode is the test of that. To me, it passes with kind of flying colors. I was engrossed all the way through, and there is not really those big landmark, oh wow, the Covenant army's here, we have to deal with this or whatever, to kind of distract you. And if there was going to be an episode where this just completely dropped the ball, this was going to be it, because you really just are dealing with character stuff, and from all different aspects of the world right now, whether that's in Reach and Chief, whether that's with Soren's wife and Quan and everything that's going on there. Ackerson has a huge spotlight here. Halsey has a huge, there's a lot going on, and there's actually a lot of big reveals here. But again, it's not someone has a gun, someone is, moving into a big thing of energy swords. Like this is different. I really enjoyed this episode. And this is also, for me, a thing that I have gotten into several debates on, as far as how the series is approaching the property and not just giving us what Halo the games do in as far as in their story. This is to me like the proof that like, hey, this is what I come to the show for. I didn't come for just to watch Master Chief go mow down a bunch of people and not care about any of the supporting cast and characters and greater stories that make them people. So to me, this is an episode that's like full. That's all this is. It's like people's stories and making people human. And I really enjoyed this. episode. I gotta say, like I've watched it twice now, and I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think I'm with you in the sense that this is the episode that proves that like Halo is a show. And they have found, whereas in season one, it felt like more of a rolling series of ideas, it felt like this is actually the proof because we got these in the first 4 episodes, right? So we got a
Right.
batch of basically a 4-hour movie. And they take a bold strategy here. It's like first hour action intrigue, second hour, third hour character stories and development for that 2-hour block, which is episode 2 and 3. And then it's no spoiler to say that we're clearly set up for the final hour to be action, right?
Right.
So that is a bold strategy to do. And you have to have confidence that you are steering the ship in a way that is going to be compelling. Because what they've done here is they've made us now do what the first season never did, which is truly deeply care about the action and what happens and who it happens to and what the outcome is, not just in a battle, but in like the frayed character relationships that are going to come out of this and the chaos and the new positioning of characters in different places out of this. And so this hour really proves that there are showrunners now who are running this show and that every episode was sat down and kind of figured out as an episode of TV, not just one part in the movie. Just this is a focus episode of TV. Last episode had a focus theme to it, like what Sword was. This has a focus theme to it about, what is going on, who believes what in perspective and all of that thing and questioning perspective and, judgment and all that. Like, there's a big deep thing here, and like you said, it runs consistent throughout the episode from the beginning where Chief has to have his judgment and his perception questioned by his fellow Spartans to Ackerson and going with I always forget
Man.
the general's name, the
Oh, the
black guy,
Admiral. Oh my God. Yes,
Admiral.
that
Yeah,
scene rules.
yeah, I watched that scene twice because again, it's about perception. To Ackerson, this is what the greater good is, and the general's just like, yeah, you can f off. Like I'm not
Go
doing that.
F
Like,
yourself.
yeah, go f yourself. And he's just like, yeah, because that's what it sees. And all the reveals, like you said, like Master Chief thinking he has an ally, and the ex commander who's also working with Ackerson's unit, and then like all of these things about who knows what and who sees what and what the greater good of perspective is. Like, do you tell the people and let them panic, or do you just
Right.
try to save who you can and do like there are all these moral dilemmas that come out, but they're good because they're going to be places that result in the character development that makes what is a Spartan, not just a person in hyper robot armor, but a person with this kind of heroic heart when all odds are down and it's an impossible fight. You are the person who can turn back the impossible and save people and do the thing, Spider-Man it, do the thing that nobody thinks you're going to be able to, shoulder. So there's clear kind of arc into each episode, and it makes it feel like more and more like this is a thing I want to make time to watch every week. Like, and I want to see it. And like the cast, Joseph Morgan, like you said, Ackerson, not just some one note arch villain, like
Morgan is
layers.
doing,
Yeah,
my God.
layers. Like that whole arc with just this whole thing they did with Halsey and the redheaded girl. Because when I'm trying to
Yes.
describe this, when you watch it, it's one experience. But I do these recaps, and there's so much to these episodes that my recaps are literally like now 2,000 words a piece. Like
I can see
we're
that,
going
yeah.
there because it's just like every scene you have to tell the details, and especially knowing that I knew that like that whole scene was going somewhere in episode 2. And just being like, if it just to tell you all the details, like here's what you really need to know about this scene, and here's what's really happening, and here's exactly how they're presenting it, because this is going to later present. And like when you figure out, like, yeah, that whole story, like that you're watching play out, and as this mystery becomes this whole deeper story for both Halsey and Ackerson, how they know each other, the deep history between them, and like how messed up it is in this larger idea about how Ackerson sees the Spartan program and like his complicated view of it. And it's not all evil. It comes from this personal
Right.
pain place, and just seeing his other side of him caring for his father, and always, you always think there are going to be these bad guy moments, like when his father is becoming difficult and he could just snap and show you an evil side, but he's not. He's like a very sympathetic son. He's a very
Yeah.
kind of good son. He's taking care of his dad. But you see the kind of way he leaves it, that horrific way that to him is the mercy,
Yeah.
right? Like, and it's
Right.
just, yeah, when you're dealing with this, it's now about like, yeah, this whole thing about making, and this is the most interested, by the way, I've ever been about a Halo's mythology lore
Same.
and the larger components of it. This is the longest conversation I think you and I, and all the years of knowing each other, and all the time we've talked about how much Halo we've played, that we've actually been like, oh, I know what the UNI or the ONI is, and like, yeah, when the US, when the Marines and the blah blah blah.
Absolutely.
Like,
Same.
none of that matters.
Yeah. Like,
and now it matters intensely. Like, who are the Spartans versus who is this faction versus who are the grunts caught in the middle? Like, that scene in the beginning is so good. The Spartans aren't going to die when they go to investigate the relay. There's no way, but you don't want to see what happens, first of all, to these poor bastards they would beat to death, and two, to like what happens to Kai and them, like if they go down that path and have to slaughter a bunch of Marines, like what happens to them mentally? Like, that's
and talk
not gonna
about
be good.
making a impact from like sound design. The way they did that door and the slamming door, that's like, they set such a great tone right away from that. And it's a great fake out, but it's also like, it sets the tension for that confrontation so well. Also, I will never get tired of Kai just like telling people like, oh, you'll make it to like I blow your face off.
Yeah,
like all of that stuff is so good.
Like the best, because it's just so nice, but so matter of fact. And she's just like, yeah, you'll do it. No, I'd kill you.
But
like,
yeah. And you mentioned Ackerson. I think he is. There's a lot of great acting in this episode, but he has. And he was right. Morgan said, right, that you would hate my character right from the get-go. You're going to hate him because he's going to bring in all these changes. He's not, very clearly not on Chief's side. He's not necessarily directly opposed to him either. But he's not, he really is coming in there and thinking of things from a logistical standpoint and not from a, I helped create you Halsey standpoint, right? But when I feel like his humanity is really under the microscope in this episode. One, because of those father scenes, dementia scenes hit hard for me anyway. And so like, but that scene and the way it's played out and the conversation that they have, it's incredibly difficult when you're watching someone you love not be able to recall things. It's also incredibly difficult. I love how they painted it from their perspective as well. It's incredibly difficult for the person not being able to recall. And so there's that very real kind of pain and awkwardness in their conversation. But then you get to the revelation of his sister and the ties that she has to Halsey. It now makes it perfectly clear and understandable why he dislikes her, why he doesn't like her. And then though, when he does leave and it's the sister and that's not real. You know what I mean? Like there's so much done there with his father, and that's how he wants his father what he wants his father's last memory to be, essentially, before everything comes crashing down. There's just there's a lot, the way he talks about reach, you can understand coming from where he's coming from, of like, and they teased it in the last episode, right? When he's talking to Cortana and like, so there's no chance. And she's like, no calculation. And you don't know what he's referring to there, but you have an idea. And it turns out that obviously she's been running simulations about reach. Will it fall? They're here. There's no way it can stand up. There's no strategy you can make that's going to change it. And so now he's like, okay, we save who we can. And you also understand completely why the Admiral's like, F you, I don't do that. We don't do that. We stand, we fight. Like, that's what we do. That's what we've trained our entire lives to do. So I just thought from all these different sides of this conflict, it's also nice too. The Admiral is shocked because he's looking at Cobalt Team in front of him and being like, I just reamed Chief for going out and doing all this and kind of calling his sanity into question. And then now I'm standing looking at the team that he was trying to find, and they're dead. And, like, you've been lying to me. And so there's just all these revelations throughout the episode. And then it all comes to, I think, again, one of the most poignant things that we've been building towards this entire season with Chief and Perez. And that moment in the chapel, and them finally, Chief finally finding someone who believes him. And if anyone's, ever talked to someone about, like, man, do you see this happening? And someone agrees with you, it's like the best day of your life all of a sudden, right? It's like, oh my God, you get it. You understand. And seeing them bond and stuff. I just thought from every angle, like, this was a success. And I have become more of a fan of the Halo universe, not just the games and the multiplayer gameplay. I've become a fan of the world of Halo through this show. And I've played a lot of Halo games in my time, and I love jumping in a Warthog and almost running over my team and going upstairs and shooting rockets and all that. But that doesn't, like, I never felt connected to the characters in any of that. I feel that way here. So for me, I'm hyped for episode 4 and us to talk about it.
Yeah, like Fall of Reach is a major part of the games, and this was infinitely more interesting than anything about it in the games, right? In the games, it's just a place. It's indistinguishable, for, like, really in my memory from any of the other places that didn't have flood that I fought in Halo. But
Right.
this just created a whole underlying intrigue to this, so that, like, when, like we're saying, when we get to this battle episode, it's going to be noise when we finally have actual scenes that are not just random people running, getting slaughtered by Covenant, but people we care about trying to accomplish goals, objectives, make a stand, get away, help others. And I like how everything, and we haven't even gotten into it because I don't want to spend too long, because I know we have an awesome interview stuff coming up with this. So I don't want to kind of get too bogged down here, but we didn't talk about the Soren side of things, because that was the other thing.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
That was so messy about season 1, right? We were looking back over it when we did season 2, and it's like Quan drops out in episode 7. Or 6 or 7. She has that whole standalone episode with Soren, and then she's gone from the rest of the season. Like, no mention, and that's what the pilot was about. She was the main character in the pilot. And we were like, what is going on with this show that started with her as the first character we meet in the show, and have this massive sequence about her and her family and their importance, and then we just lose her halfway the series and never see her again. So I like that this season has already proven that, and they kind of do a fake out in this episode with Lara telling her to, like, take Kessler and leave and do that, and, like, oh, they're going to separate. Now we have like 15 scenes to keep track of. But no, it gets brutal, and I like the violence is kind of brutal in this season. That she comes back and saves her, and that they're bringing everybody together, and that by episode 4, it's literally like everybody's coming together.
Soren, they're all going to be in the same, like, building.
Exactly. And it's like, and we said that was so good about the first episode, is like one of our most, like, oh, thank God, like, reveals was that there isn't some, like, weird search for Halsey across the universe thing like they tease in the first episode. You find out, oh, she's just in a facility on Reach. She's, like, right next door, and they're just kind of holding her and Cortana right there and the key. We don't have to go and do a bunch of MacGuffin episodes. They're all right here. Everything's here. Now we got Soren brought back, and that was a great what a great reveal. Ackerson, what a bastard. Just leaves and he comes back. Oh, I got an old friend for you. Like, just boop.
And so, the way, like, his smile when he does, it's so good.
Yeah. And then Lara and Quan are coming there to get him, and Kessler's on, like, it's all coming together, right? So yeah, we got a lot that we can do. There's a lot that we could lose the next episode. And any of those losses will feel impactful. If we lose a single Spartan, we lose a single member of Soren's crew. We even lose some grunt Marines or the general or whatever. Like, it's going to be a loss, right? So they've done a good job.
Oh yeah, we didn't even get to Riz. There's a whole
thing. I mean, just like this whole talking about making characters. Like, you get what was I saying? Marvin Jones III is Louis 036, and that whole thing. And we didn't even put that two and two together when you see episode 2 and he takes her to the healer, and then you find out they got a whole ass like little romance thing going on, and like her learning about life and seeing the possibilities of that and all that stuff. Like, and you can see where that could become very important post episode 4, or like what happens after this battle and how does it affect all 4 Spartans, because they don't have chips making them do this anymore. Like they're people now, and like what happens, there can be trauma there, and it doesn't have to be your body. Like it can be a lot of stuff can happen to you. So this is all kind of interesting question. And like, I mean, the only person we don't know like that much about, we're not in the head of, is right now is what, Varric or Vanek. And
yeah, that's it. And
I love
even him,
exactly
he's got,
where he is.
yeah, he's a great, like, you have enough personality, right, from him, but yeah, we still don't know a ton about backstory and stuff. There's just, I mean, look, we talked about what, 1, 2, 3, 4 on 5 ongoing stories just in this episode alone that are touched on, and then of course you have the macro level Covenant, war thing that's happening. Like it's a lot, and it's the fact that I mentioned Quan in the beginning, but then amidst all of our discussion, forgot to go back to that scene. Like that's a testament to how much is in here and how much of it is actually compelling too. I mean, that Quan, scene of just seeing her be a complete badass is great. And it's also, I love how they're bringing her in with like Kessler and their bond. I love that when she comes in, there's a lot of small moments, right? Like when she comes in and sees Kessler and they hug, and like Lara notices, like, oh, he knew already. Like but they just hover just to let you know that like the character's clicking. That's clicking for the character. So like, it's a lot of great stuff. And I also like that they let some of the action play out. They give you just enough tease to set up episode 4. So like, but like literally explosions go off, right? So it's going down. There's no question of, oh, are they going to make us, wait a whole half an episode before doing? No, that crap's already started. So I'm also excited too, where that leaves Chief and Perez, because now they're literally together in that spot when everything goes to hell. So I'm excited to also see them kind of go on their little journey and get back to where they're going as a kind of a team. So I dig it, man.
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's get it in. Let's go. And then I'm ready to know like how the back half of the season goes, because we have no idea. We only got kind of the first 4, like I said. It's also kind of, I like how they've set it up, because even after this, the fall of Reach, and Quan still has a big part to play, because there's a lot of theories that she's the one that has the early read on the flood and that whole thing that can get unleashed and all this. And it'll be interesting to see how they tie what happens on Reach into that threat that comes out of it. And yeah, I'm really kind of excited for all this, man. Can't believe I was going to be excited about Halo Season 2, but we're going to see. Can't wait to see how people do, because we got a battle episode midway last year, but this is really going to be like the Game of Thrones test, right? Like how you do a big battle episode.
How do you pull this off?
Yeah,
so you got to make this.
The feedback.
They got to deliver.
It's going to be quite a recap episode, a quick start next week, folks. So be sure to tune in for episode 4, because it's going to be, we're going to have a lot to talk about. All right, Matt. I mean, unless there's anything else you want to touch on, I think we've done the thing, and there's no further ado but for you to bring in some more of your awesome exclusive content related to Halo Season 2 here.
Yeah, well, it's perfect timing, I feel like, because this episode ends with a great scene and a great sequence of scenes actually between Chief and Perez. And then one of my favorite scenes in episode 2 is also involved Perez and the family. So who better than to talk to Cristina Rodlo all about episode 2 scenes and everything going on in episode 3. And she teases some really cool things coming down the pike. So without further ado, check that out right here. Matt Aguilar here from ComicBook.com. Today, I have the esteemed pleasure of speaking to Halo star Cristina Rodlo. How are you?
Hi, I'm very happy, very excited to be here talking to you and the audience. Very, very happy. Thank you for having me.
Well, congrats on season two. Perez has, in just a very short time, I feel like become a fan favorite and become also a like major point of um almost kind of being like Master Chief's only real connection to reality in some ways because she's the only one that like believes him for a lot of this early part of the season. But I kind of want to take a step back before we get to
Okay,
episode 3 because obviously we're talking after episode 3 has already come out, so we can get into all the details on that. But in
okay.
episode 2 there was a one of my favorite scenes of the season, which was the family dinner. That is like such a I mean, it's such a delight from when you guys get to the door and it's your mother and she's like a greeting, the only a greeting that a mom can give to someone, a Spartan, I feel like. And the brothers and all of that. How much fun was that? It felt like it was fun, even though there's like such an awkwardness to Chief and everything in that scene.
Yeah,
How much fun was that to actually film, or was it?
it was so much fun. It was so much fun because I mean, my family became my family. Like we got so connected. We created such a bond, even though it was only one scene that we had together. We were like, we need this to feel like a family. So we went out a bunch of times and we had a lot of fun. And when we shot that scene, it was like a also like a break for everyone on set, like because after shooting so many hard scenes and so many battles and like it becomes a lot.
Yeah.
And when you have a scene as easy but hard at the same time because you have so many actors just talking. Those are the hardest scenes sometimes. But it became so easy to shoot, and everyone was so excited. Everyone was just like having so much fun. And not only the actors, also the crew, because everyone on set was like, oh my God, we needed this. We needed this time, this downtime, and just seeing people laughing and enjoying each other, even though something else happens after. But like those 2 minutes, it was amazing, honestly. We had a lot of fun. And I'm very happy that people are loving that scene because I've gotten so many messages saying that that scene is like top and it's great.
Well, because it's like you said, it's a break from the seriousness of everything else that's happening. We're dealing with, planets being glassed and, people like dealing with all their, family trauma and loss on the side of this big war. So when you just get an awkward family dinner, it's just it's nice. And Pablo plays that so straight, but
Yeah.
even like just the little glimpses, was that scene actually harder to film from a keeping a straight face thing because you guys almost were like it was a break?
It was, I mean, we were very focused, obviously, but there were moments where, especially my cousins were like saying stupid things and you would laugh at it, like, and thank God the camera was not on me because they were improvising a lot. I mean, that scene was even longer. And Debs and the showrunner, they were like, Debs is the director, they were like, just improvise, just play. And so there were moments that were just playing. And for me and Pablo, we were just like, well, we cannot laugh. We just need to be straight because there's a lot of things happening to our
Yeah.
characters. So it was a little bit hard, yes. I won't deny it.
But in the best way.
In the best
And
way.
like and like I mentioned before, and a big part of the season, Chief and Perez really early, meet in the first kind of climactic. What a scene to kind of meet in, right? It's a it's a foggy battle scene.
Yeah.
You almost die. Like there's so much going on there. But also that really forms a bond that we've seen kind of play out, even though they don't actually have as much interaction over the course of like the next 2 episodes. There's
Mhm.
like this kind of bond that's forming on either side because there's only a couple people here who really know the truth and who believe, and Master Chief is being questioned on all these things of sanity and hallucinations, and his own team is starting to lose trust in him, and yet there's one person that gets it, And I feel like not on these terms, we're not dealing with like, alien warfare, but like everyone can relate to that, right? Everyone can relate to like one person, just like getting something and you being able to relate to them. And in this episode, in episode 3, we get a powerful scene towards the end with those two finally kind of coming back together and tackling, religion and faith, and also just like you're not crazy.
Yeah.
What did you think of that scene kind of once you saw the final product, and where that leaves them kind of leaving this episode?
Oh my God, that's my favorite scene. That's like throughout the show. It stayed with me. I think it's beautifully written, and what we did, I think me and Pablo and the director and everything was just like, it was beautiful, I think. And I think it's a question that we all ask ourselves, like you don't even need to believe in anything, but you ask yourself, like, how can I get answers? Like, why, who can I talk to? Like, if like, is there something out there outside of us, like, who are we, And I think Perez is the one that is the only one, like you said, is the only one that understands Master Chief, because he doesn't know how to question himself, because he's
Right.
learning to be a human. He hasn't been a human. So she is the one asking the questions that he would like to ask himself, but he doesn't know how. So when he meets her, she's like, well, I'm asking myself these questions that I think you're asking yourself as well, but you don't know how to process that. So let me show you. I might not have the answers, but at least I'll be there with you, because
Right.
we're going in the same path. We're going through the same things in a different way. You're Master Chief, you're this big Spartan, and you're fighting to save us. But at the end of the day, we're humans, and you want to connect, and I want to connect, and I want to find the reason of why we're here, and you the same. So I think, and I don't want to ruin it for you guys, but the bond that it's gonna be between Master Chief and Perez, it's gonna be amazing. It's a great relationship that we build.
Well, that was perfect, because that's what actually I was going to ask, kind of moving forward, because you're right. He's still, and it's easy to forget sometimes, that he's still really learning how to communicate, how to analyze his own feelings and his own thoughts. He's also not used to being on very kind of shaky ground as far as his like decision making and people questioning his, not even his nerve, but like just his sanity, right? It's very
Yeah.
new all around, even if he wasn't dealing with trying to figure himself out as a person and all that. And that's why it's been great to have Perez as a, person who's really kind of giving him some kind of center, because we don't have Cortana, we don't have some of these other characters. Even his own team right now is very, what is going on with you? He doesn't have that foundation. But for Perez, because I love, number one, that the prayer that, it's her that deciphers that. It's her that like brings all that understanding to it. And it's awesome to see kind of some of that, I guess some of that credit spread around a little bit, that it's just not all this like, only a Spartan can do it, or only this person could do it. I like that we're seeing all these other people play central roles. Do you
Yeah,
feel a little bit of that as well for the character in the season?
I do, 100%. And I think what I like a lot about this season is that Master Chief, like you said, Master Chief cannot do this alone. And it's like humanity. We cannot do everything alone. We need a team. We need support. We need other people. And I think Master Chief realizes that, even though that he is omnipotent at some point, he cannot do this alone. And when he realizes that, I think that's the beautiful thing about the season, that he realizes that he needs everyone. And it's not about not only the Spartans can save the whole world alone. He needs the whole world to stand united so they can fight united, and everyone is going to do what they're best at. But if Perez didn't figure it out, what the prayer was saying, he wouldn't been confused, even though he knew that they were there already. But he's questioning about why are they here? Why are they doing it the way they're doing it? And she gives him the answer, you know? So it's like a puzzle and starts to come together. And I think the puzzle only can be resolved in community. And that's what I love about this season.
Well, and of course that plays right into, this episode too, I feel like really drove home the point of, we know Reach and we know the fall of Reach from the games, and the mythology is so important. It holds this very kind of special place in the mythos overall. But I feel like you always know it's important, but you still need to be made to feel like it's important and on a personal level. And I thought this episode did, from Ackerson and his father to obviously Perez and her family. Then you've got Quan on the other side and things like that. Like they really are making you feel oh my God, if Reach falls, if they invade, these people can die. Like there's an actual human element to it, and not just like, oh, well, building falls. Like we've all seen that, and
Yeah.
things are teeing up for that in this episode, especially. It doesn't even end. We get explosions and stuff before the thing even ends. What can you tease about that and what's to come? As much as you can, of course. And then how, now Chief and Perez find themselves like together at this point. Like everything's going down now. It's not even like, is it going to happen? It's happening.
Happening. Yeah.
What can you tease about them moving forward and having to just deal with the moment of it?
Well, episode 4, you guys are gonna love it. It's my favorite. I won't say much, but it's chaos. It's a mess. And Perez in that specific episode, her life is gonna take a shift. She's gonna realize many, many things, and her life is gonna change forever because of what's happening. And that's gonna make her take a decision to do something bigger. I don't want to ruin it, but like to do something bigger, it's like the main thing. And that's gonna unite her even more with Master Chief and the rest of the Spartans. That's all I can say.
Man, hyped. So hyped. I know I gotta let you go here. Just because they, they really seem to have upped their game this season as far as the props, the weapons, the fight scenes, like everything really just feels like a step up from last season. And we've seen some of the behind the scenes of, how intricate and detailed the props are. Everything's from the helmets to the armor to the weapons, of course. Did you play with any of that stuff behind the scenes? Is there going to be like, after the season's done, we're going to get some cool, like behind the scenes photos, like you holding an energy sword? You know what I mean? Like,
Oh my
because
God.
I couldn't resist. They would have to ban me from all of that stuff to keep me from doing that.
You say that, but after wearing everything that we wear and everything they wear, and it's very hard. You don't want to play. Like you don't want to play anymore. You're like, I'm done. Take this away from me. I just want to go home and rest. So you won't see that.
Fair enough. That's amazing. Well, look, all the best success. I cannot wait to see how the rest of the season plays out. And your character's been wonderful. So kudos on all the amazing work. And I hope we, see Perez stick around for the long haul. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh my God. Thank you for having me. I had so much fun. Thank you. And keep watching it. I can't wait to hear your thoughts.
Thank you to Cristina Rodlo for joining us here on Quick Save to talk about Halo Season 2, Episode 3, Vice Guard. We cannot wait for Episode 4 to see what happens with Perez, Master Chief, and everyone else. Thank you guys for tuning in to our recap show. We are Comic Book Nation, the only show that does it all for geek culture. And our Quick Save segment releases regular episodes every Thursday where we dive into gaming culture. And we also are doing these Halo Season 2 bonus episodes. But beyond that, Comic Book Nation covers all variety of geek topics. Every week, my buddy Matthew Aguilar here pulls the biggest comic topics to talk about in the pull list. We also have our regular live show every Friday, and the comic book on the other feed for Phase Zero. You can get all your Marvel deep dives if you want to go there. So there you go. It's a whole Comic Book Nation. We are Quick Save. This is the Halo Season 2 recap. We will see you guys next episode. Peace.
This is